Hey guys, how are y'all doing? I am here at a different part of the church, a part that you might not recognize because you don't see it very often. And it's kind of hard to see now, but I chose this window. But sitting on the stairs that go up to the balcony where eighth grade and high school sit. And so the street is out here, and this is called the narthex when you enter in. And you'll notice behind me there's a beautiful stained glass window. There's a cross with a red draping there. Um, there is a crown of thorns like they put on Jesus. How can I get my hand up there? There it is. um, there's a crown of thorns right there. There's a lot of beautiful images that talk about Jesus's life and about his heritage and where he came from. There's the water basin right there in the middle where he washed his disciples' feet. I look at that as an image of that. I hope you're all doing well. I miss you all very much, and I am sad. I think it's okay for me to say that I'm sad that I don't get to see with you and be with you this week. And I don't get to do this lesson face to face because it's a hard one today. This is probably the hardest one there's a lot of hard lessons in the Bible, but this one is probably the most difficult one to teach. It's the hardest one to teach. But it's important. It's important that we remember it. Remember, last time we talked, it was Maundy Thursday lesson, and we talked about Maundy, 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 and that it means commandment, and that on that night when Jesus was with his disciples, he gave them two new commandments, that they share communion with one another, that they share the body and blood of Jesus Christ as often as they want, whenever they want, that they share it to remember him. And he also commanded them that they love one another, not as they love ourselves, not as we love ourselves. He wants us to take it a step further than that and to love one another as he loves us. So special, so wonderful, so difficult. Today we're going to talk about after Jesus goes into the garden to pray. After that Last Supper, Jesus goes out into the Garden of Gethsemane. It's an olive garden. And yes, it's still there today. You can go and you can see images of the garden online. They also have an olive tree there that is 2,000 years old. So it was there when Jesus was there. How wonderful and how special that you can see that, and that is there for us, that we can witness and stand where Jesus stood and pray where Jesus prayed, and it's really beautiful. So if you have time, go look that up. Today we're going to read the story about what happens after Jesus is arrested. So you're a king, are you? The Roman soldiers jeered. Then you'll need a crown and a robe. They gave Jesus a crown made of thorns and put a purple robe on him and pretended to bow down to him. Your Majesty, they said. Then they whipped him. They spat on him. They didn't understand that this was the Prince of Life, the King of heaven and earth, who came to rescue them. The soldiers made him a sign that said, "Our King," and nailed it to a wooden cross. They walked up a hill outside the city. Jesus carried the cross on his back. Jesus had never done anything wrong, but they were going to kill him the way They killed criminals. They nailed Jesus to the cross. Father, forgive them, Jesus gasped. They don't understand what they are doing. You say you've come to rescue us, people shouted, but you can't even rescue yourself. But they were wrong. You see, Jesus could have rescued himself. A legion of angels would have flown to his side if only he called. If you were really the Son of God, you could just climb down from that cross, they said. And of course they were right. Jesus could have climbed down. Actually, he could have said just one word to make it all stop. Like when he healed the little girl, and when he stilled the storm and fed the 5,000. But Jesus stayed. You see, they didn't understand. It wasn't the nails that kept Jesus there. It was his love. Papa, Jesus cried, frantically searching the sky. Papa, where are you? Don't leave me. And for the first time, at last, when he spoke, nothing happened. Just a horrible, endless silence. God didn't answer. He turned away from his boy. Tears rolled down Jesus' face, the face of the one who would wipe away every tear and every eye. Even though it was midday, a dreadful darkness covered the face of the world. The sun could not shine. The earth trembled and quaked. The great mountains shook. Rocks split in two until it seemed that the whole world would break. That creation itself would tear apart. That the full force of the storm of God's fierce and anger at sin was coming down on his own son instead of his people. It was the only way God could destroy sin and not destroy his children, whose hearts were full of it. Then Jesus shouted in a loud voice, "It is finished." And it was. It had done it. He had done it. Jesus had rescued the whole world. "Father," Jesus cried, "I give you my life." And with a great sigh, he let himself die. Strange clouds and shadows filled the sky, purple, orange, and black, like a bruise. Jesus' friends gently carried Jesus. They laid Jesus in a new tomb, carved out of rock. How could Jesus die? What had gone wrong? What did it mean? They didn't know anything anymore, except they did know their hearts were breaking. "That's the end of Jesus," the leader said. But just to be sure, they sent strong soldiers to guard the tomb. They hauled a huge stone in front of the door of the tomb so that no one could get in or out. It's a difficult story. It's a sad story. Today, we remember the sacrifice that God made for us, that Jesus made for us, and he did it all alone. When you feel like you're in a sad place or in a dark place, remember, it doesn't last forever. Easter's coming. It's a sad story, but a glorious story. A story filled of love from God for his people, for us, for me, and for you. Let us never forget. Amen.